I'll do it live.
Okay, we're live. The MMA Awards 2022. This is a big deal for me because we did this last year when the channel was just growing, and it was 4 of us, including Aaron then, and it was a success. And now we've got Scott inside Cage MMA, one of 2. So we have a big year of 2022, bigger than 2021 in my opinion because of a certain UK person that we will mention later on in the podcast, but I just want to hear an overview from each of you guys at the moment of I haven't told you about this one either, so this is why it's going to be genuine. An overview of how the year's been for you, just in general. We'll start with you, Aaron, because you've been very successful with betting this year.
I have. Betting wise, it's been fantastic. Love this year. It's been another good year. I've had some good bets. I've had some bad bets. Carlston Harris over Shavkat Rakhmonov has to be my worst bet of the year. Yes, I did bet on Carlston Harris, and I was serious in that. So my bad, Wolfhead man. But yeah, it's been up and down. I'll be honest. The highs have been very high for me. I'm a hardcore MMA fan, as anybody is familiar with my channel. I mean, I break down PFL, or used to break down PFL till it just got so out of control. But I break down LFA, I break down Cage Warriors with you all the time. Like, the prelims are always the fights I look forward to the most. So for me, there's been the 279s of the world and like stuff like that, and the much more shady stuff with James Krause that's coming to the surface now. That's letting us know that the money has infiltrated the sport fully. And so it's up and down. The last quarter of the year has been a long quarter of the year for me, besides a few high points. But overall, I mean, you look at this year, and as I was going through it, I'm like, this happened this year? Oh my God, this happened. Like, it's been a crazy year. We take it so for granted. And, we'll focus a lot on the UFC, but there are a ton of great fights to focus on tonight. So I tried to make that more of my kind of goal with some of my awards, was to give some love to these other organizations, but you can't deny the best of the best. It's still the UFC. So yeah, it's crazy. It's just crazy, but it's been a good year mostly, but I feel like some of the unwritten rules have been erased. So I'm kind of curious to see what 2023 is going to look like, to be honest with you, because I think it's going to get ugly.
What about you, Scott? What's been the highlight of your year so far with MMA?
I think it's been a good year. I feel like we're finally getting past COVID-ish stuff. I know, like, up until a few weeks ago, we're still doing Apex, but I think crowds has been a massive thing this year, like massive. We'll talk about a few things like later with moment of the year, but a lot of my stuff is centered around the fact that it was in front of a live audience, and it just made everything so much better. I know they did do some live audience stuff last year as well, but I feel like this year was the most normal we've been since 2019. And it's a long time coming. Listen, I was all for the Apex and the quiet. It was kind of good because you could hear coaches, you could hear punches, proper, like solid. But I think when you get it back out in front of the fans, there's nothing better. So overall, I think it's been a really good year. I think if you've got a good mix, you've got new champs, you've got solid champs, you've got surprises. Where a moment where you've went, Jesus, you know what I mean? Like, you've proper gasped because it was insane. So I think if you've got a good mix of everything, a wee bit of controversy, So I mean, okay, you've got the odd boring fight, but if it's a whole package. You have to take the good with the bad, and I think it's been a great balance all year of good, bad, ugly, boring, amazing. I think it's been brilliant, to be honest. I mean, I've not been following MMA that long, but the years I have been, it's probably been one of the best years, I think, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think surprises, definitely. And I think what you'll find in 2023 is a lot of hype trains that have been built up in 2022 are going to get derailed heavily. There's a couple names I can immediately think of. There's a certain UK guy that Aaron and I, I've been watching him since he was 4-0 live. And I said he won't get past anyone in the top 15. And now he's slagging off the fans.
He has solidified that.
He's solidified that big time. I think, he nearly didn't beat someone. Well, he didn't beat someone in the top 15, like out of the top 15.
He beat him. I went back and watched that fight.
You think he won?
Here's another thing, real quick. Here's another thing that I've definitely noticed about 2022. The days of control, John Fitch would have 4 or 5 extra losses on his record now. Control don't mean shit, man. It is about the damage. And too bad Marina Rodriguez didn't have those judges against Carla Esparza, because she'd have a belt around her waist right now, because damage didn't matter there, where she busted open Carla for 3 rounds, but Carla laid on her. But it's inconsistent, but damage seems to be the most important factor now, which I don't know. I'm kind of back and forth on that, because I still look at this as a sport. So for me, it doesn't always have to be the guy who causes the cuts or anything. It's the guy who wins the fight, does the right tactical things, and that isn't always the most damage. But yeah, it's the year of the damage too, not Darren Elkins, who tore all of his knee in the first takedown.
I knew it'd be brought up. Yeah,
come on, Pierce.
I've had the damage argument with people before. Like, look at Nate Diaz. You just have to like blow on Nate Diaz's face, and it goes to shit because of all the scar tissue. So you can't. You can't score a fight on damage if a guy damages easier than
it's a dangerous precedent. It's a dangerous precedent we're going down.
Yeah, exactly. You can have a guy who's got a face made of bricks that doesn't damage at all, and a guy who, if you just caught him, he would just all over the place. So,
and another thing, with us getting away from the apex here, is that we now have the crowd back in it, and we know the judges don't know how to deal with a crowd. When the judges hear the crowd, they've decided they don't add up this. Also, let's get open scoring out there if we really want to hold these judges accountable, because imagine the conversations as it's going if we see Patty got that first round when he clearly it's much harder to rob the public when it's out in front of you. And I think the argument that, if fighters know they're up 2-0, well, don't go down 2-0 then. That's one of the disadvantages of losing 2 rounds. So open scoring 2023, let's do it.
I think they need to make it professional, the judging as well, because as far as I'm aware, judges don't get paid for it. I think it's not like a job. It's like
they don't get paid.
Yeah,
they get paid. These judges are getting paid.
They don't do it for nothing, but they don't get paid essentially official. It's not like, it's almost like a hobby for these guys. So make it professional. Put it underneath the athletic commissions. Put it underneath the commissions. Make it a commissionable thing and hold these guys to account. Because of a ref, look what happened to Yamazaki. He had a horrendous night, and he's never been seen in the UFC since. It's happened to a couple of referees.
There's a few of those, mate. Steve Mazzagati's the one that springs to mind for me.
Yeah,
perfect.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. There's been a few, so do the same with judges. Make it professional. Give them something they've got to atone to. And if they have a bad night, like Doug Crosby had 2 in a row, by the way, 2 nights in a row, get them to fuck.
Yeah, pretty much.
50-45 Danny Sabatello. Never forget.
Never forget. And we got to welcome Alicia into the chat as well.
I think this gets us into best ref though. Let's go from the negative of refs to the positive of refs.
Good side angle. Do you like that, Lewis? Do you like that?
Yes, that was very good. There's always 2 refs that are nominated every year for the last 5-6 years. Right. And I don't think I'd be shocked if we all don't have at least 2 of these. And I asked for 3 nominations with everything. So I'll start with mine. I mean, my nominations are Mark Smith, because he's done the most reffing this year and been pretty flawless. Jason Herzog is he's top 2 for me. And Mark Goddard, who is the best, in my opinion, especially this year. I'm going to spit on you if you mention Derb Schmeen. So, because that guy...
my number 1.
He's your number 1, because so many professional people out there still think he's the
Didn't he win ref of the year last year?
Yes, he did. And we spat in the faces of everyone.
I thought it was a joke.
Yep. Because we all voted Herzog last year because he was flawless.
He had a better, to be fair, I think Herb had a better year than he did last year. And we're not you guys aren't even talking about, you've not even mentioned in your top 3 yet. He won ref of the year last year. So that's what I'm saying. I think Herb Dean, nowhere near it for me. Absolutely nowhere near it.
Good man. Yeah. So what is your 3 nominations there, Scott?
So my number 1 was Goddard. I just don't think you can see past him, and it's got nothing to do with the fact he's a Brit. It's absolutely nothing to do with it. I think he's control, he's style. I like, my second was Mike Beltran. Now, I think it's a style thing from you, Mike Beltran. It's that respect, making the fighters, have almost forcing them to have respect for each other at the end of fights. Okay, if there's genuine dislike there, then fair enough. But the control. And just, I think he loves it. See the passion. I think if somebody's passionate about something, it comes across. And Mike Beltran is probably the single most passionate referee of MMA. He just loves it. Plus, his beard game is insane. So that's also another reason. And as you say, Jason Herzog. I think, I mean, Beltran's just above Herzog me just for an emotional kind of sense, because I actually think Herzog's maybe on a level with Goddard in terms of refereeing. I think it's really hard to split them, like really hard.
It is. I think Herzog is a better ref in general.
Yeah. I think Mark Goddard's got a good way with the fighters. I think Herzog's quite quiet, and I think, but as terms of reffing, he's superb. But no, Goddard and Herzog, absolutes, and Mike Beltran just because he's class.
And what can you split the difference there, Aaron?
I mean, yeah, so honestly, I do think there's a little Brit bias with Goddard, because I could really arguably not put him in my top 3. He is one of the best refs, though. Josh Rosenthal is always going to be my number 1, but we'd screw him over, and that sucks, because he was the best.
He was flawless.
He was incredibly good, and it sucks that he got screwed over, and then he almost got back. So Jason Herzog, yes, is one of mine, of course. I just think in general, I really like demeanor from refs, and your argument for Beltran is really great too, because he takes a very different approach of like that really stern approach, which also works. But Herzog is one of them for sure. I like the fact that he is clearly an athlete as well. So like that means something to me. You can put him in there with the 125ers, the 135ers, and he's never tripping over his ass to get out of the way. Like Herb Dean sometimes is stumbling over himself with 205ers. It's just embarrassing. So Herzog for me. Another one that doesn't get brought up enough is Chris Tione. I think this guy is great. He is, especially when fouls happen, like keeping the fighter from quitting too fast or from getting back in there too fast, while also not being like, oh, hold on, stop. Like he just has a very good kind of bedside manner. I think he does a really good job of like keeping tensions kind of quell. And along with Beltran, I think Keith Peterson does not get enough respect. So I'm putting Keith Peterson as my 3rd, actually. He like really does stop the fights at the right time. He stopped fights standing a lot more than a lot of refs, and he also lets fights go on. But I hate watching a ref let a fighter take an unnecessary beating. It is one of my biggest pet peeves. And I can't think of once that Keith Peterson did this all year.
Not this year. The only one right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just Cruz Cejudo.
Yeah, Cruz Cejudo is.
I think a few seconds too early there, but other than
a few seconds too early, but also like he got absolutely dropped by a guy who is not known for dropping people. So when you get dropped that way by a wrestler, you take your chances. Sorry.
But if you can remember specific ones, like just one, you've got to really think hard about a mistake they've made.
Yeah,
like Chris Tione made so many mistakes on his first year, like 2 years ago. Yeah. And he's just so good now. Like, as you said, he's so consistent with the fouling. He will take a point like that. And the next fight, if it happens again with someone else, he will not go, oh my God. Different.
The amount of times that Mark Smith warns people for the same fouls over and over. Fingers, eye poke. Watch your fingers, eye poke. Watch your fingers, the last warning. After how many times does he say it's the last time? He must take his woman back every single time. He's like, this is the last time that is the last time. Also, shout out to Moist Audio and Bo Jackson in the chat.
Yeah. Welcome, guys. Welcome back.
I think another reason for liking Jason Hergo, you ever notice the wee dance he does when he starts around?
Oh yeah, I love his dance. I also, he
taps his feet behind him. I absolutely love it. And I see when they move away from the camera angle when he starts around, I get so upset. I'm like, no, don't do it, man. Oh yeah,
Mark Smith is a simp. I agree, Bo Jackson. He knows what he's talking about. Are we saying our winner yet, or just our nominees?
Well, I'm trying to be so objective in this, but you can't help but have a little bit of bias. I think my vote is for Goddard.
Okay,
yeah, me too.
And a close second for Herzog. Last year I voted for Herzog, so I can't be claimed as biased.
Yeah, I've been voting Herzog back to back.
So you're biased as well. Then.
I'm going with Herzog. I mean, he's just got that nice demeanor. But I'm telling you, Chris Tione, if he could get a couple bigger spots, he can move up that list, man. He's good. He's really good. And people don't give him enough love. Yeah. So congratulations, Mark Goddard.
Scott.
I don't know if Mark gets it, mate. If we've all picked Jason Herzog, if you've got Jason Herzog first, second, and third, that sounds to me like
if we've all got Herzog in our nomination,
Goddard ain't even on my nominees.
That's what I mean. Then I think Herzog has to take it based on he's in all of our picks in whatever place.
Still trying to figure this out. What are you trying to figure out, King?
Special mention for Dan Mergliotta, who looks like a guy they've just picked out the crowd and went, on you go, big man, have a go. I just love Dan Mergliotta. Terrible referee, but what a guy, man. Absolute legend. Love him.
There's a few refs that don't do it anymore that were great. Josh Rosenthal was one. Leon Roberts was another.
Oh, yeah.
He was an absolute beast. He does Cage Warriors, but he doesn't do anything to do with the UFC or Bellator.
Same with Dan Movaheady as well.
He's pretty much just Cage Warriors.
We got Dr. Joe Solis, who only does Fury. Dr. Joe Solis.
Yeah, there's a few. They gave Frank Trigger a chance once, and he got dropped, didn't he? So
yeah, and just the other thing, just to go back to the judges. I know it's jumping around, but last point on the judges. Everybody was saying just add a bunch of fighters that will solve it. Bullshit. You're gonna have wrestlers who see the wrestling as the best. You're gonna have stand-up who sees stand-up as the best. Bias. That's gonna be even worse.
Lovely. Cool. So we get onto the second category then. Best referee is the worst one to start with, but it's also the best because it's pretty clear cut. We'll go for the best event of the year next. Now, originally this was pay-per-views, but then I was looking through all the pay-per-views. And last year when we did this, it was clear cut. The fight nights did not even compare to the pay-per-views. This year, I would say there is one fight, and this is biased, that stands out above all the rest.
Mate,
and this is from a personal level now, but UFC London for me was the greatest. The first UFC London was unbelievable. It was perfection.
Yeah.
I don't think it comes close because you look at the whole card, top to bottom. Early prelims,
insane,
were phenomenal. It was a full house, everything. Whereas the other nominations I have are 275, Yuri versus Glover, and 271, Israel versus Whittaker 2. Those were my personal favorites.
Okay.
But if you look down the whole card, they're not that impressive throughout the whole card, especially the prelims. They're very watered down. Whereas I looked through London and it was just stacked. It was a pay-per-view. It was a fight night, but it was a pay-per-view to us anyway. And maybe because you had to watch it at a sillier time, Aaron, it might not go up in there. But
I don't care.
From my point of view, and I'll put that as my vote now, just out there. UFC London. I'm saying the other two just to have another two. I think London is clear cut. I see Scott's already agreeing. So
yeah, man. I can't not agree. Like, I think I never watched it on the TV. I was in the building, right? So I think that's always going to take your view, right? No matter what you do. I think being in the building's special. So, but even if you take away from it, and it was insane, the whole card. Like, if I take the crowd out of it and the night out of it and the emotion out of it and the fact that I was half cut for most of it, it was still just an insane card, top to finish. There wasn't a bad fight. We were in for the first fight to the last fight. You know, we were in there like 6-7 hours solid because it was that good a card. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you might, I know, watch the damn prelims and all that stuff. I get that, right? But if you're on the sauce and you're in the pub and you're like, do you know what, missed cut? But honestly, one of the best nights of my life, other than obviously getting married and stuff like that, usual stuff. But definitely my best MMA event. Like, I've been 4, I think we've done 2, London, Glasgow, and Copenhagen, and that was by a mile the best event I've ever been to, and best event of the year. It wasn't even close. I've even put one of mine as a special mention, basically, because I wanted to talk about it. It's not even close to being event of the year, but it was significant, I thought. But no, London, every day of the week.
Go on, Aaron. Sorry, put you in a horrible spot now. Horrible spot.
Man, not even on my list. But this is the beauty of
it's not on your list.
No, man. There's a lot of great events though this year. I also went to a lot of these great events, so that's the bias. I had to choose one of the ones I went to, and I did choose the most recent one I went to, which was UFC 281. 3 decisions on the card out, 14 fights. To start out, we saw Weili Zhang take the title from the least popular title holder of all time, maybe, in Carla Esparza, by a beautiful, beautiful choke. Super satisfying moment to be able to witness there. Then we see a 5-round battle, and Israel Adesanya get put away non-controversially with a standing finish against the cage, which, yes, he's fought through more, but again, like, he was taking bombs from Alex Pereira, new champ. Just over and all through the card, it was just a great card to be at. There's nothing like Madison Square Garden either. Truly, it's the best place in the world to watch a fight from. There's not a bad seat. It was just all the way around a perfect event to me. Claudio Playlist got absolutely embarrassed. I mean, there was like weird moments. There was Frankie Edgar getting annihilated, the brutality of MMA like shoved in our face. To see that in New York like was rough. Like almost made me like, it had everything you could want from a card, and then a 5th round finish of a huge rivalry that's going to keep going into 2023 here. I mean, I went to a few cards this year. I went to Hazmat Burns card as well. That's way up there as well. But there's nothing like Madison Square Garden, probably similar to how you feel about the O2 Arena in London. It's similar to this. Yeah. So for me, 281, and it's not even close, honestly.
So just not to shit on it, because it was a phenomenal main card. That's what I remember from it.
I mean, even on the prelims, you got to see Ulberg do Ulberg, like to start out. You got to see some really impressive finishes still. Like, I mean...
Yeah, there was just Wellington Turman and Matt Frivola and Karolina Kowalkiewicz.
Matt Frivola absolutely starched the potato man. That was incredible. Matt Frivola is a real guy to watch out for in 2023. He's improved so much. And I believe from our breakdown, I'll quote it, we said Matt Frivola does not have punching power. So
he had punching power.
He had punching power
against the guy that tried to escape.
Against the guy who had punching power with potatoes. So
yeah.
I mean,
but then you look at UFC London, dude. It opened up with Makayev Durden. You had Jack Shaw Valiev, Paul Craig choking Krylov. You had Topuria knocking out Herbert, McCann knocking out Carolina, Gunnar Nelson. Sato was a bit shit, but
you had the
Paddy Vargas, Arnold, Dan Hooker.
Okay, you had the coming out party of Aaron Nurmagomedov. Sorry what she did to your girl. Meatball is taking some time off after that. She sure is. Yeah, she's about to take a whole lot of time off.
I think both Scousers are. All the 3 Scousers in the UFC are.
Yeah, I mean, again, Moicano. We got to see Money Moicano. I don't think that I think you're kind of underestimating the prelims too. It was a great card.
Yeah, I think I'm biased. That's what it is. I think I'm so biased.
Isn't that the beauty of awards?
That's it. Like as you said, and as I said at the start, being in the building just totally blinkers you. Listen, London was a great card on the face of it. 81 was a great card. The other ones I had 73. I thought 73 was a great card.
When I talk about my fight of the year, I still describe it as the best fight I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Because I was there.
The other one I had was One's debut on Amazon Prime. One Prime because it was so significant, and
I was close to putting that on. I was close to putting it on. Yeah.
It was such a good card, but it was just, I think the moment, like the audience they reach by doing that, I think it was such a significant moment. It was a bit like when they did a couple of cards, was it last year on Free American Telly? They did it, I can't remember what the channel was, but I'm sure they did a couple on like American TV, and it was huge. This was huge for them, I think, to have, an event on Prime. So that was like my other 2.
The only reason I didn't put one in is because half the fights were not MMA. That's the only reason I didn't do it. There were kickboxing Thai fights and a boxing fight in there. So otherwise, it was perfect, wasn't it? So
it's always the way with one, though. You're always going to get a mix, and they're always not the longest the cards. But I didn't let it hold it back. I thought, because I could have picked any one of probably 10 events. It's one of these things. It's been a good year, and we've had good events, and whether it's laid heavy because you've had a really good main card and an average, it's still a good event, whether it's great all the way through or top heavy and not. Do you know what I mean? So I could have picked any. So I thought, give one a bit of praise, because I think that was a big turning moment for them to be on Amazon Prime. I think that's massive.
Yeah. What other cards did you have, Aaron? See if they line up, because I think saying UFC London is the best is completely biased, and it might be a little unfair to do that.
Yeah, no, I love the Yuri card as well.
But I think it needs a special bang in the middle. It was a fucking excellent card, if not the best.
Yeah, it's definitely up there. I mean, it was hard for me to really, come up with what, even there's a lot of really great main cards. Like UFC 270 had one of my favorite main cards of the year with Michael Morales coming through, with Davidson Figueiredo. All those fights were really good, but it was just 281 was the one for me. So it's been the one. Again, there's a lot of good cards though. So, but when it's the best, it's the best for me.
Would you agree with me that this year the pay-per-views have been lackluster for the most part, and then there's been 2 or 3 that have been just crisp?
Yeah. I do agree. I mean, it's like look at like 272. Like, it's like Colby Covington, Jorge Masvidal, Dos Anjos versus Moicano in a scrap together main event last second. Edson Barboza, Bryce Mitchell. Edson Barboza can't kick anymore. Like Kevin Holland versus Alex Oliveira. Sergey Spivak versus Greg Hardy. Like, these are not even fight night main cards. And that's one of my things. Here in America, we have to pay for the pay-per-views. So it should be a little bit better than the fight nights, than the UFC Londons. The fact that UFC London was basically a pay-per-view shouldn't be happening. Like, that shouldn't be happening. Those are fight nights.
Yeah.
They're not pay-per-views. Yeah. Pay-per-views with a number should be in something.
Yeah. Dreading the next one, mate. It's going to be fucking 5 a.m. in the O2 Live. That's going to be hell.
I just don't get it. Yeah, they need to like go back to naming them like UFC Revolution and shit, so that they feel like they have to step up to them or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it going to be? Did you say it's going to be late?
So I don't think you were a fan of the sport when it happened. The last pay-per-view in the UK was Michael Bisping versus
Manchester.
Dan Henderson.
Yeah.
In Manchester. Yeah. And that fight happened live, but US time. So you got to the arena at 11 fucking o'clock at night.
Oh my God, fuck that, man.
So if you're watching the O2 Live for the pay-per-view, you're going to be there all morning, essentially. And you're going to get the nice train home.
Shout out to Machete. That's a professional miss. Missing by 3.5 is a professional miss.
Was it not this year the guy missed weight for the weight class above, or was that last year?
That was this year. Rafael Alves.
He missed. So he was trying to fight bantam, and he weighed in at like 147 pounds. So he missed the feather limit as well.
He missed featherweight as well. Yes.
Or Justin Taffer, who missed heavyweight.
Justin Taffer missed heavyweight.
First guy ever to miss fucking heavyweight. Come on, you gotta do super. You gotta do like a super heavyweight.
Yeah, giant Chinese fighter missing.
Don't let Ngannou cut weight. Let's see what he looks like. 310 pounds of just bricklaying muscle.
Ngannou.
Gas after 10 seconds.
Probably. Oh, he'll be better than ever. So, what is the official pick for event of the year? So for you, Aaron, it's 281.
Yeah, 281. And honestly, my runners up, like, we're so far behind that it kind of feels disingenuous to include them. So I get if UFC London's the winner here, but for me, UFC 281, it was like, I don't know, like 7 finishes in a row at some point in that card. And it was just like, I mean, the drama of seeing Frankie get put away like that, was just like so hard to watch. And like, you're there. So it's like, you don't see the cutaways to the commentary. You're just watching Frankie dead and then come to realize it. And then like, it's just like,
a complete roller coaster. Whereas London for us was nothing but this. There was no downfall.
And then like we get to the main event and we're like, okay, the New, with Wiley Zhang, here comes like a main event, like it'll be good. And then we're into the 5th round. It's like another Israel Adesanya decision, which I don't have a problem with, but like you could feel the crowd like was like, it's fine. And then all of a sudden, because the crowd was kind of quiet in the 5th round, you could hear the shot from Pereira that got it started. And it was like a firecracker. Like this guy does not hit like anybody I've ever heard hit, to be honest with you. It's just like pretty unreal. The hardest hit I ever heard, you'll like this, is Michael Bisping against Chael Sonnen, though.
Oh, the left hook.
Yes. It's the hardest I've ever heard a punch.
Yeah.
Hardest I've ever heard a punch. Like that thing sounded like a.
Do you want to hear what the loudest I've ever heard live? Will Curry. That his right hook against, who's the fella you like? The Bosnian guy.
Karol Mikulak.
That's it. He literally one shot.
Yep, I was wrong on that one.
I heard his cranium split in one hit, and afterwards Will went.
The loudest kicks I've ever heard were Edson Barboza's UFC debut. Edson Barboza's UFC debut, my first ever UFC event back at I think it was like UFC 112 or something. The main event was Machida versus Rampage Jackson. Terrible fight. But Edson Barboza fought this guy, Mike Lulo, and no one was in the arena because it was like 10, 12 years ago where really no one watched the prelims. And you could hear these leg kicks slapping and echoing through the Palace of Auburn Hills, which it was just like, we're like, who is this Edson Bazooka guy? Like, I didn't know his name at the point. I was like, we had like Sherdog, wasn't even using Tapology at that point. I was like, who is this guy? So,
King Grotty's he's right here as well. The Costa Vivatori kicks.
Yeah, and
King Grotty, they were brutally.
Yeah, and King Grotty, just to explain, if we can't get you on today, I'll get you on the show eventually, man. So don't worry about it. We'll get you set up. So
cool, man.
Just a little housekeeping there.
What were your other two levels?
I had 275 Yuri v Glover because I loved that fight so much. Yuri's coming out party, but it just wasn't quite that. It was that was a mental card, and Israel Whitaker too. I watched that one a couple of times, and I thought that card was excellent. But I put in 281. I think because it's where you were there as well, it takes it up a step.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm fully on board with like putting that in there. But for me, I cave with Goddard. I'm not caving with London. London is
fair.
Go for
it. London is my one. What's yours, Scott? Is yours also?
Yeah.
You were there?
It's so hard to get past. And not even just because I was there, mate. Like the whole night was insane. Like
we've got so many Brits on the card winning, you know.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen, Aaron. Honestly, it don't happen, mate.
I know. Trust me, I get it. You guys got to hang on to this.
That'll be the only one that's biased because of where we're from. I promise. Well,
oh, this is a good question.
Oh yeah.
What is the worst card?
What is the worst card?
We both can control this. My bad. Go ahead.
Oh, go on. We're both trying to get his thing up.
The one where Diaz ended up fighting
279.
Yeah, fucking absolute utter shambles, and it was, and the fact that they knew it was coming, they knew that was coming. There's no way the UFC
whole week, yes,
yeah. There's no way
they made Hosmont miss weight on purpose. It's pretty weird.
It's that whole thing. I don't think there's any other card. There's been plenty of cards where it's been a bit boring. You're kind of like, I can't really be bothered with this, but I don't think, in terms of overall, the card was just poor. The fight,
it's not even close. It's not even close. 279 is so bad, and it has a robbery of Li Jingliang in there as well. When he was the guy who got the most screwed, and
he's the guy with the biggest balls in the world. But you're like, I'll fight him. Just put him in 200 pounds. Fuck it, why not?
Yep, big balls result in big losses. So
I'll tell you another bad. I'll tell you a bad one as well. You had Blades v Dalkus. That whole card.
or you can pick any PFL card for the whole season.
Other than Brendan PFL. Winning,
pick any PFL.
No, I'm not having that. Stevie Ray beats Anthony Pettis twice, man.
PFL is absolute shit.
That's a good fight, but not the whole card.
No, I'm talking the whole card.
The whole card.
Yeah, PFL
championship would be my pick. Even it's all bad.
Yeah.
PFL is
Singapore card as well. Yeah. No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I agree.
There's so many choices for worst card of the year. There's so many because it's so diluted now, and there's so many fights.
There's Cage Warriors as well at the start of the year, where remember 9 fights dropped off.
Yep. Yeah.
It's just
There's
and I had to go to that and not know who I was seeing.
There's been more than one contender card that's been better than a UFC main card this year. That's all I gotta say. But yeah, 279 is the worst card of the decade.
That we should agree on.
I'm agreeing on that.
So bad.
Cool. We can get a little couple arguments into the chat now as well with the next one. I'm gonna go with best submission next.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And I'm gonna start with you here, Scott, for your nominations for these ones, because I have a feeling I know 2 of them.
Well, I don't know. I went a wee bit outside the box with my third one because it was kind of fucked up. I've never seen about it. So it was Odie Delaney against Narmo from 1FC Bad Blood. And I don't know what you would call it. I don't know what it was. He had them hooked around the back and then clasped his hands at the back with his hand and twisted them all. I watched it 4 times and I still don't understand how he submitted them. It was insane. Special mention for that. Number 2. Now this should have probably been number 1, but the reason I'll explain why number 1 is number 1. But number 2 was Craig versus Krylov. Again, it's just I was there. He's Scottish. He done what Craig does. He does Paul Craig things.
You knew it
It's
was
like,
coming.
Come on into my guard. Come on into my guard. Come on. You're going to at some point. You may as well just do it now. And he done it and subbed him, and that was it. But my number one sub was, I remember talking to Mark on our podcast, and I could not rave about this anymore. And it was Jessica Andrade's standing guillotine against Amanda Lemos.
Oh, the head and arm. Yeah.
Absolutely, utterly insane. Like, I don't know why that. There's been plenty of good subs throughout the year. I've looked at lists, I've watched videos, but for me as a reaction, when I seen that, I was like, "Are you shitting me, man?" I couldn't believe that Andrade submitted Lemos standing up against the cage. Couldn't believe it.
Lemos panicked. She panicked.
That's fine.
Yeah.
She maybe
No, that's not on Andrade, man.
Game.
That's not on Andrade. I've talked to several fighters who, like, all have said the same thing, not talking to each other. That
you know what you could have done there? You could have just given her your back. You could have.
That's what There's so many choices she could have made, and instead
that's white belt era. Yeah.
Instead, she panicked. You can have the still shot when Lemos is like, ah! Like, she's so scared.
She definitely tapped early, but I think it's just that whole.
It was so bad. Like, it was, but no. Who am I to say? I would tap even quicker. So who am I to talk?
I don't know what it was. It was just a shock. It was a fight. It was a fight between two strikers for me. Andrade likes to throw hands, so does Lemos. And then I don't know. I just when I seen it on a list, I was like, "Fuck!" I remember absolutely raving about that at the time, and I watched it back, and I was like, "Nah, man." There's just something about it for me that just I don't know if it's like an emotional thing, a passionate thing.
It's fair. Like, you don't see it every day for a reason.
Yeah, man. I watched it back, and I was still shocked, even though I knew it was coming. I was like, Jessica Andrade submitted Amanda Lemos standing up. Absolutely. Right.
Yeah, she tiptoed the sub for sure. Dude, what do you think? What do you think about another Ezekiel?
Why were you bringing up all the fights I missed? I picked Jared Vandera against.
You shouldn't admit that. So we've got another Ezekiel, and we've got a buggy choke as well. Do you remember that?
I love me a buggy choke.
Yeah, they're rare. They're not overly complicated. They're just rare.
There was like 2 or 3 this year. It was, which kind of happens a lot of times when these weird submissions happen. They happen in bunches.
Oh, okay. Has he got your one then?
Dude, come on. Let me get to my nominees first.
Go on, then. Let's hope your nominees before it's mentioned.
All right.
In the chat.
My first nominee, I won't say in any order, is SD Dumas. This man is an absolute beast. Pure kickboxer, right? So he comes in against a Glory kickboxer in his Contender Series fight, and he gillies him John Jones style. Like, almost took his head completely off. This guy is so good. You guys don't even know yet. I'm not trying to give away.
I know a little bit from you.
Yeah, and I've been right so far. I've been right.
Spot on, yeah.
I've been absolutely right. This guy is not normal. He's going to be a beast for a long time. Yeah. So yeah, that choke for sure. Right there. For me, another awesome Darce choke. Our boy Kingsley Crawford, taking out Reed, just snatching up that neck. Kingsley can do it all, man. He's so good. Not enough of the world knows about him. If he was in the UFC, he'd be a star already. I think when he gets to the UFC, he's going to be extremely popular whenever that is. Just incredibly well-rounded, great stand-up, but this was just such a dirty choke, and Reed, not an easy guy to put away. And then, I'm going bias for 2 of mine. My third is Jillian Robertson's rear naked choke, absolute clinic of Maria Agapova. One of my locks of the year. If we had a locked bet of the year, Jillian over Maria Agapova would be one of those for me. It was one of my biggest bets of the year by submission. And I mean, Agapova, they've trained together for a long time. I talk to Jillian on a daily basis. She's been choking Agapova for a long time. And so it's just, they both kind of knew what was coming there. And, it's just that reaction. You do not see that reaction every day that you saw of Agapova, where she almost bit her tongue off. Dude, her tongue was in the middle of her teeth as they were clenching. Like, get the rubber mallet in there, like, for the seizing patient. And I mean, again, Jillian with her 8th finish as a flyweight. That's a flyweight record. 0 bonuses. 0. Yeah. Not a bonus when she got her eyes almost clawed out by Cachoeira's cheating ass. Not a bonus when she chokes out Agapova and makes her foam at the mouth. Then Dana's ass goes and gives everybody who finishes last week a bonus. Like, what the fuck, dude? Give her due, man. Give her due. Yeah. She is so underappreciated. And now she's going to 115. She's going to clean up.
Should do better at 115. I agree.
Way
What do we think about this one? The most impressive sub was Jalen.
He's just saying that because he bet it. Congratulations,
I know.
Kelly bet this. He got the
I know,
plus
I know
600 subs, so he's going to talk about it forever. It was a great sub, but it's nowhere near the top of the.
I've got 4 noms. I got 4 nominations for this. I couldn't decide
20.
between 2.
I could add 20 nominations. Also, Zhang versus Carla, just for pure satisfaction.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Paul Craig and Krylov out of my list because it's been mentioned. Yeah. That's what I'll do because I thought that was so satisfying. Because Krylov, what we've seen, is no mug. He is no mug.
And Paul Craig was that night. He was that night.
Oh, yeah. Jerry's
really
up
smart
on
fighter. Really smart fighter, Krylov. Really smart fighter, Krylov. Really good fight IQ, except when he fought Paul Craig. Fucking nuts, man.
Kind of. Yeah. We should definitely mention this before we go any further, too. Just the sheer insanity.
It was insane. Yeah, it's still not the best sub though. Like
not even close. So, it doesn't make any sense.
So I'll let you guys decide with these ones. So I've got Stevie Ray's on Anthony Pettis with his modified twister.
Nice.
Rips his body, and I don't think people that don't do jiu-jitsu don't know how hard that is to reach over and grab their entire body to twist while against the 2nd degree black belt in Anthony Pettis, who is a very good grappler. Stevie just twisted him up, and that is so hard to do. I've got Claudio Puelles' knee bar on Guida, which he just rolled. It's so smooth. And it's just, when it's effortless, it's perfect.
We can't give Claudio Puelles an award after how he performed.
After Hooker.
After 281, we should probably cut Claudio Puelles.
And the final one, I've got Vucenic jumping on the back of James Hendon.
I like that.
And getting him from a backpack position. And James Hendon is the real deal as well. So
yeah, James Hendon's good.
They're both excellent. But for me personally, I'd put Stevie Ray's as the best submission I've seen this year. That was unbelievably brilliant.
Man, we're stuck. Do we have 3 different nominees?
I mean, who's your official pick?
My official pick, it's got to be SD. It just has to be.
SD Dumas.
Like, that, because how often do we watch that replay of the John Jones Machida choke? Yeah. And when's the last time we saw that? That's so much better of a standing choke finish than Jessica Andrade's, Scott. With all due respect, if we're going to take a standing submission, we got to go with the one that actually has form here, not the one that got it on a panic response. So I'm trying to convince Scott to join my team here.
I wouldn't put the Lemos submission in the top 10 personally.
No, it's not even in the top 20
because I don't put it on Andrade being good.
No, it was a panic.
Lemos being so shit.
As someone who's had panic attacks in his life,
personally,
I know panic attack, recognized panic attack, and almost panic.
God, but your other 2, Scott.
Yeah,
you've got Paul Craig, which I had on my list because to do that to Krylov is no joke.
Here's your argument. I'll give it to you. There you go. Duma sub to kickboxer, so hold it against him. Stevie Ray sub the guy who used to be on the Wheaties box.
I mean, you don't have to convince me about Steve. You don't have to convince me about Stevie Ray.
Because
we've got a wee Scotland.
Listen, it could have been number 1. And the only reason I picked the one is because I was proper shocked. But I'm not a fighter. I've never trained anything in my life. No knowledge of any of this except from what I watch. And I don't know, watching Andrade choke her out, it wasn't the greatest submission I've ever seen. I've seen a lot better. In fact,
you'll die on this hill.
But it was just, but I don't know. I'm not picking between you 2, Lewis. You can have the final say, man. It's your channel. You can have the final say.
Yeah, I think the chat has a good point as well. Like Kelly's correct as well in the fact he's subbed to kickboxer, but also that shouldn't matter. It's an MMA
Anthony
fight.
Pettis isn't even a fighter in 2022.
I was about to say Anthony
split
Pettis
decision.
Is
Miles Price.
Yeah.
Like, so let's get out of here with that.
It's just, my whole viewpoint is what looked the best, what's the hardest to do.
No,
and Stevie Ray did the hardest fucking thing to do, man. Anyone that does a modified twister or a twister gets my vote every time. So
I thought Pettis tapped early, but hey.
If he didn't, his ribs would have been absolutely broken. Yeah, he tapped because he didn't want his ribs broken.
Pettis doesn't fight through things anymore. Pettis goes and gets his hair cut.
If he didn't tap, what would have happened? His shoulder would have ripped out. Mm-hmm. He had his wrist, so he would have Kimura'd him from the back, and his ribs would have split.
What you notice with a lot of taps, to twisters is they're like these like slow like you watch the Matt Sales tap on against Bryce Mitchell. And like when he's in that twister, he's like it's just like it's not like it's like I know if I continue, like it's just gonna slowly shred me apart.
It's like if you're rolling in the gym, as soon as you feel it getting locked in, you see guys just like straight away tapping. That's it. That's what it was like. I like when McGregor with Diaz flattened him out and put that on. McGregor tapped so fucking quick. Like
that's what I'm saying. Like it's a different. Yeah. So
There was nothing. There was nothing McGregor could have done.
So Stevie Ray wins.
He's my vote. Hey, I don't know if he wins. It might be a 3-way tie here. If you can't agree, it doesn't matter.
You can't have Andrade up there. I just liked it because I liked it. As simple as that. It wasn't the best.
Then I would pair it. I would pair it as a joint winner. You can have joint winners.
That's
my
fine.
channel, my fucking rules.
Yeah, exactly.
SD Dumas choking out, standing John Jones style.
Yep.
It is a good submission, to be fair. It's really
good. Go back and watch it. It's so fun.
Yeah, I'll need to watch it. I've not seen that one, so I need to watch it.
Yeah, it was from the Contender Series.
Yeah,
and he's getting ready to take on Azatar's brother in January next year. So that's
you mean he's getting ready to whoop?
Correct. The worst Azatar. Both Azatars are trash.
Yeah.
Okay. I've got to be really non-biased with this next one.
Oh boy.
We'll go to the next category, which will get a lot of people talking now, because this is the reason most people watch MMA, and it's the KO of the year.
I'm dreading this now after my submission, attempt. I'm dreading this.
Yeah, this is tough.
Yeah, Yuri Glover sub isn't getting any recognition. It got some recognition, but it's not the most skillful.
No, it's a no hook. It's a no hook rear naked choke.
Basically, Bulldog choked him from the back. It's only impressive because it's against Glover. That's the only reason.
But I mean, Glover's an old guy, and he went 4.5 rounds. And I think, see if that choke had been in the first round, he wouldn't have tapped. No way.
No, he wouldn't have been in that position. Yeah, you're right. So
no way.
Yeah,
that's just my opinion. Like, it was a good sub, but I think Yuri's timing at that point in the fight, I think Glover was just like, "Fuck me, man."
Yeah,
I want to go home.
He pulled an Arlovsky.
Yeah,
he pulled an Arlovsky. He's like, "Yeah, I'm done."
We're gonna start with you for this one though, Aaron. KO of the year.
KO of the year.
SD Dumas versus
SD Dumas versus Devin Flowers in Icon. It was amazing. No, so I luckily get to be pretty biased on my first two. First one, I've mentioned it a couple times now. He's a father now, which means he's never losing again. Gregory RoboCop Rodriguez. Seriously, guys, get on the RoboCop train. He is now a father. He's not just a religious man who thinks that Jesus has blessed him with the power to knock people out and choke them unconscious. He now thinks he's put on this earth to defend his daughter's honor. Good luck fucking beating that guy. It's not going to happen. And he knocked out Marquez like 4 times in that fight with a right hand inside of 3 minutes. Like, I mean, and Marquez might have been able to get knocked out by Darren Wynn this weekend if Darren Wynn didn't fall down the stairs. Who knows? But I mean, definitely the first one there, RoboCop. I cashed hard, so again, I'll be honest, below bias there. But I mean, who doesn't like to see a guy just get hit over and over again with just like haymakers? It wasn't the most pretty, but God, like, and Julian Marquez so annoying. So like, let's see him get knocked out more. Dude sucks. Next KO for me. I'll go with the female KO of the year, which it was more of a TKO, but I think she landed like 120 significant strikes from the crucifix. It's Aaron Nurmagomedov Blanchfield on Molly Meatball. You just don't see, like, the last time you saw a beatdown like that was Valentina against the zombie girl who cheats against Jillian Robertson.
Should that be like best TKO? Or is it? I'm thinking like clean knockout is what I thought.
Yeah, exactly. But it was, I mean, even though it was a TKO, like that's so dirty. And really quickly, I got to give my boy Kelly some credit for this one. He sent it to me this morning. Let me get the actual name. It was from ACA. And the guy's name, where is it?
Is this the baseball back kick?
Yeah, it was Gui Te Seo with ACA 19. I'll put the link to it in the comments here for everybody to go check out. Check out about 540 into the fight here. It is one of the dirtiest KOs you'll ever see.
Yeah, it is horrific.
I mean, it is very, very scary. You can. I'm just loading up the YouTube video to drop the link here. Scott, I suggest you even check it out when you can. 540 in. I just dropped in the comments though. That's another one. It was a baseball bat kick to the dome. It was just so dirty, and of a guy I've never even heard of. But yeah, shout out to Kelly for pointing that one out. I can't take that one though. And my final nominee and my number one nominee, my number one favorite fighter. He's from a little country called Ecuador. It's Cheeto Vera, baby.
You've gone for Vera. Okay.
It's Cheeto Vera. He set it up to perfection for round after round. And you do not knock out Cruz like that. Cruz was not complaining about an early stoppage there. Pretty sure Cruz is going to be retired after that. Broke his nose. It set it up with the timing. Cheeto will give away rounds because he is a finisher. With a capital F. The dude is just so good. And this KO was with patience, timing, and precision. It's everything you could want out of a KO. And he's my favorite fighter. So it's, kind of nice when you can click 2 out of 2. So 2 of my 3 favorite fighters right now are Gregory Rodriguez and Cheeto Vera. And they happen to just be my KO nominees as well.
You're allowed to throw in the biased. You are.
I mean, you go watch those KOs and tell me I'm wrong.
No, they are phenomenal. They are phenomenal KOs. Do you want to go next, Scott?
Yeah, I feel like I've proper nailed the stereotypes here. Like it's 3 of like probably the highlight real KOs of the year. Maybe not the third one. My third one was Leon versus Usman.
That's your third one. Okay.
Yeah. Now, I'm not a massive Leon Edwards fan. I'm not a massive Usman fan. I get it. I get the moment, and I get, I understand the significance of it. I've always got a problem when a fighter. I'm not saying he got lucky, right? He didn't. He set it up. He set it up the way he did it. He feinted, got the kick. He meant to kick him in the head, and the guy got knocked out. Right, it's fine. But he got smashed up for 4 rounds. So
3 rounds.
3 rounds. Sorry,
Don't you dare.
No, sorry. Sorry, Leon. My bad, mate. But it always leaves a bitter taste with me if a guy gets smashed up and then pulls out of nowhere. It just shouldn't. But it's one of the things. My second and first, I deliberated over this. Molly's spinning back fist at London. Now, this isn't because I was there. This is because it was just fucking insane. The slow motion of that, Molly's hand hitting. I mean, it was literally the most perfect spinning back fist you'll ever see in your life. It was absolutely insane. Well, certainly the most perfect I've ever seen. There might have been many before, but just utter mentalness. But my first one was Chandler's front kick to Ferguson. That's insane. Like, I know it's Ferguson.
The background on this thumbnail for a reason. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I know it's Ferguson. I know it's Chandler. I know it's a bit meh, but I mean the technique involved, the skill even the stills at fucking Ferguson's face. It looks like something out of a cartoon movie. Do you know what I mean? It was just lights out. KO, absolutely insane. Best KO of the year for me by far. It was insane.
Yeah, no, I agree with a lot of those, to be fair. I tried to go a little bit outside the box. I agree with Kelly with the Leon kick was fucking amazing. And it's for what it stands for is defeating the guy that they were talking about going up divisions to win multiple belts, the greatest of all time conversation, all this. And he head kicks him and kills him dead.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
He slept and snored for minutes. And it was beautiful because it's
we're gonna talk about that another nominee.
Yeah. So that was, but like that was in my list, but it's not my knockout of the year. I did have Molly written down as a sub. I did have Chandler, but I was trying to think a bit different. The 2 I'm really fixed on because I wrote him off and he proved me wrong was Jamal Hill against Johnny Walker because he puts him down like a statue and it's scary the way he just falls and snaps his head against the fence, and that was beautiful.
Yep.
But my vote is Ilia Topuria spinning Jai Herbert round 360 degrees, unconscious, flat-bedded him after he suffered a head kick and nearly got cleaned himself.
Yes.
Knocking Jai Herbert out flat cold with 1 shot overhand at a weight class above.
Yep.
Topuria is my vote. I think that knockout was scary because Jai Herbert needed help from 4 guys to just get onto a seat, and he was. Yeah. I think Chandler Ferguson is. like if everything was just no bias, no nothing, I think that possibly is the highlight.
Yeah.
But when I don't want to just put the obvious, and I know Cheeto Vera won. I didn't even have it in my list, but it was
Oh man,
that one
perfect.
is
Yeah.
it's in the
Listen,
top. Yeah,
it was hard. It was so hard. There's so many. Like, as I say, I probably didn't pick Molly because I didn't want to come across as totally biased. I've already had Paul Craig and I've already had UFC London. So, and we've had Stevie Ray out of nowhere. Do you know what I mean? So, like, I thought, but no, I mean, any one of them, I would be happy to say was a winner. Do you know what I mean? Like the ones you've mentioned, like Tapuria was on my list. Quite high up list. Cheeto was on my list. It was just, I literally wouldn't be bothered about any of them being KO'd. I mean, we've literally picked 9 different ones there.
Yeah.
I mean, so
all phenomenal as well. Is this phenomenal. A category that I don't think we're going to agree on the best KO because it's so subjective?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my vote is Jai Herbert getting KO'd.
Wow. Not even on my list.
You should do a poll. Let people vote.
We should do a poll based on our nominations. Yeah. I mean, it's
based on the top 3 nominations. So go with Chandler, go with Tapuria, and I totally forgot what Aaron said.
Cheeto.
Yeah, sorry, Cheeto. Yeah. Go
Cheeto
with 3 absolute class knockouts, all different, all amazing. Let the people vote, mate.
I'll get a comment saying, "Where the fuck's Leon, you Brit?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leon will have his category.
He's got his category, all right, for sure. Which gets us to, I want to just class as the best fight. Fight, because this one is, I'm going to start with this one. Because, again, I've gone down a different route that maybe some people haven't thought about, but Yuri Glover is an honorable mention for me. That's not close to, in my opinion. I think Burns Chimaev has to be on a list. It just has to be. I've got Onama and Landwehr, because that fight was just an exhaustion battle of just back and forth, trash talk, pointing to the floor, stabbing each other with their fists. It was brutal and I loved it. But my vote is for Matt Schnell's comeback against Sumanjari. That was my fight of the year. That fight made me get up. I'm a big Matt Schnell guy from the Ultimate Fighter days. I always liked him and I got a soft spot for him and he was getting his ass kicked for a lot of that fight. And it went back and forth. It was gruesome. It was bloody and it was brilliant. I'm not sure if it is a better fight than Burns Chimaev or maybe someone that you guys have. But for me, I think Matt Schnell's comeback is just phenomenal. And it made the best fight of the year for me.
Yeah.
I'll let you guys decide who wants to go next.
I mean, I'll go next. It's Burns versus Chimaev, guys. Sorry, I don't think we
It's on the list. It's on the list, so it's good.
Yeah, I don't think we remember what Chimaev's image was before that Burns fight, but he was a minus 500 favorite against Gilbert Burns, and people were betting him, like no problem. And
you were betting him, weren't you?
I did bet him. I was sweating my ass off for $200 for some reason. Like, and it's just like, I'm telling you, like, I bet Dave Van Auken $1,000 on that fight. And he got
right. That's right. You did. Yeah. Straight grand.
Straight grand for the straight up minus 500 odds to get $200. Yeah. And then I host a betting channel. Jesus. But dude, that fight, I've rewatched it. No, it doesn't hold up to the first time I saw it. It doesn't. You can't take the moment that was in and how that happened and how Gilbert Burns fought and how close Gilbert came to winning that fight. And I really do think Hazmat closely won the fight, for it not to be a robbery of Gilbert that won Hazmat the fight, but he just won a close fight. And then he's rebounded since then somewhat, but we still don't really know. I mean, he did what he had to do against Holland, but that fight was, before that fight, I didn't think it was possible for anybody to do that to Chimaev. Like, I really didn't. I was just like, it's not going to happen. Definitely not going to happen with a former lightweight moving up who's 34 years old, dealing with injuries, lost to the best. Like, it was, and like everybody was cheering for Chimaev going in there. Everybody was laughing, ready to laugh at Gilbert Burns in the arena before the fights. We were all ready to just make fun of the crying Brazilian. And by the end of the fight, everybody loved Gilbert Burns, even though he lost. Like, we all know he won, even though he lost the fight. Like, he won the battle. Like, he showed up and made the best showing of himself. That fight was the whole time it's happening. I'm holding my head and going like, I'm in the arena by myself. I went to this event by myself, mind you, in Las Vegas, first ever event in Las Vegas. I had driven for 2 days to get there because I said, I am seeing Khamzat Chimaev fight no matter what. And I was by myself. I'm like yelling at all these casuals around me, being like, do you know what you're seeing right now? This is the craziest shit ever. And no one knew, no one understood. Like, and it made it even it's the craziest fight I've ever seen in my life live. It is.
I don't even think you need to say anymore.
It's
like
just
any more fights.
It's
Nah,
it is.
there's
No other nominees. I can say the Yuri Glovers of the world. I can say these other ones. It's the best fight I've ever seen in 20 plus events that I've been to in 15 years. It's unbelievable. And I've rewatched it and no, it doesn't have the magic of that moment, but you cannot take away that moment from me for my entire life. That fight is the best fight I've ever seen.
Right. Beat that, Scott.
Can't.
What was on your list out of curiosity?
So I had about 8, and then I had about 6, and then I went back up to 8, and then so I literally just kind of like pointed at 3. I literally just like dropped my pen and where it was sitting because I had Gilbert Burns, but like it wasn't even on my 3 because I literally couldn't pick. So I literally just kind of pointed at the pad and went, right, cool that. So I had the only one that was kind of, I thought Moreno versus Figgy 3 this year was insane.
They've all been great.
I love watching these two guys fight. I know people will say it'll get boring if they keep fighting, but I will never, ever tire of watching these two guys fight. They are so good against each other. It's like that whole, there's always, everyone's got a weakness. Superman's got his kryptonite. There's always, and it seems to be these two guys just can't really ever like completely destroy each other. There's always tit for tat. It's insane. The other fight I had, well, that was my number 1 pick, by the way. I had Saruki and Gamrot. Again, this was probably an emotional thing.
Oh, wow.
I love Saruki and I absolutely adore Gamrot. See, when Gamrot signed for the UFC, I was so buzzing. Been following him in KSW, 2-weight champ. He was absolutely insane. I was so excited. He kind of got a slow start in UFC. Now, the only issue with that fight was it went the wrong way. Sarukian should have won, but it doesn't take away the fact that it was an absolutely insane fight.
Very technical fight, that one. Not much. We're kind of naming wars, but that's a good technical MMA fight. Yeah,
that's the thing. It depends on your scope. Then a fight of the year could be an absolute war, or it could be something like that. And I think I just had to mention this because I'm not sure it gets enough scope. Paul Hughes versus Jordan Vucenic. I know it was maybe it was a wee bit more one-sided, right? But it still went the full 25 minutes. It was still half an hour of visual, like watching something that was just utterly insane. I was totally engrossed. I normally watch it back and skip in between. I watched this live, and even if I hadn't watched it back, I wouldn't have skipped it because even the bits in between, you needed the minute breath to just. It was insane. But I say I would be absolutely happy if it was Burns Chimaev because that was another level. Yuri Glover. Yeah.
I think people have hindsighted that fight way too much too. Yeah. We all believed he was a superhero before that fight. And after that fight, we realized he's not. Like, it's just, he was so untouchable going into that fight. And then it's like this lightweight journeyman. Oh, I get it. He fought Usman and stuff, but like, he didn't look that way against Usman. Like, that was crazy. And it's just like, we were all like expecting him to cry. We were all expecting Chimaev first round, not like going to distance and then having multiple points of getting rocked. And like, just, I mean, it was just back and forth. That third round, Chimaev comes back, like shows that he like can be the hammer and nail. Like, I don't know, that fight to me. And like, I'm almost like seeing people like it makes me even more sure that it should win this award, like in a way, because people have forgotten.
I'm happy with that because, as I say, it could have been any number of probably about 10 fights, to be honest. I mean, we've all named 3 fights. Some of them are duplicates, but say Aaron hasn't named 3 fights. Aaron doesn't need to name any more fights. But between us, there's 6 or 7 fights there, and as I say, I had a list of 8 on my own, so it's just one of these things.
It's like, and I've been to like Ortega versus Volkanovski, where he worked out of that guillotine. This was the Burns fight. Chimaev so much more intense than that. Like, and I've been at that too. Like, so it's, I don't know. Yeah, and then Scheffel versus Capolosa. Oh God. Yeah, another the thing that broke me from the PFL was when Matthias Scheffel beat Bruno Capolosa. I was like, I'm done. I'm done with this. I'm done with this league, this MLS of MMA.
Okay, so I think we can all agree it's Burns Chimaev.
Sweet.
I mean,
I'm glad that
yeah.
I'm glad I overran the crowd there.
No. It's on all our lists anyway, and it was a close second for me. Mine was more of a personal one. Again, that's what it is.
Yep.
So the category I've got here, which I didn't know how you can interpret this in any way you want, but I've called it best moment of the year.
Yep.
So to put it in perspective, my best moment of the year isn't going to be anyone else's, I imagine, best moment of the year. My best moment is seeing Jimmy Woolhead come back from countless injuries at 40 years old.
Against Daniel Skabinski.
I knew you were going to pick that. Do you know that? I don't know why. I had a feeling
because I was there for it as well.
Yeah.
And I know Jimmy.
Hey, I cashed hard on that underdog bet on Jimmy.
And it's nothing to do with full Reptile here either. But it is just in general. If you're a hardcore British MMA fan, you know Jimmy Woolhead, you know Judo Jim. So when he came back, knocked out Skabinski immediately, and it was superb. It was beautiful. The whole crowd just adored him. He's fist bumping Hardy, who's commentating over the edge. He's going nuts. He's crying. And then he comes back and he knocks out Figlak for the belt.
Oh, yeah.
And he wins a Cage Warriors belt, which he had never done before. He'd never won a belt. He'd always had the most fights in him and Brad Wheeler, ironically, have had the most fights in Cage Warriors history now. I think they're tied at 16, but Jimmy has more wins. So he has still got it. He's got excellent cardio. He's a step above all these guys at welterweight in Cage Warriors. He really is. And he's 40 years old now. And that was just such a good moment. Watching him finally win a belt there as well. That is the thing for me. So that's my best moment of 2022. There's so many. Yeah. But it's more of a personal one, I think. So I'd like to hear people in the chat as well, what their best moments are. But Gunn and Scott, what was your best moment? And has it got something to do with a certain Scottish man?
No.
Oh?
It doesn't. My moment of the year was Tom Aspinall subbing Volkov. It was the pinnacle of, as I say earlier on, right? We talked about event of the year, and it was hard to get past. And being there, feeling it, being in the room, the energy. You know, it's funny. Like when we went to Copenhagen, the main event was Hermansen versus Cannonier. And the place died when Cannonier won because he wasn't the local lad. I know Hermansen's not Danish, but he's Scandic, so you're in that area. You know, it just kind of feels like that. But this night, because of Molly, dare I say it, because of Paddy, because that London just built, as you said earlier on, Lewis, it built and it built and it built and it built, and Aspinall just basically popped that cork off of that bottle at the end. It was utterly insane. I was a little bit drunk. We had money on it. We won like 900 quid that night off like something should look like a tenner bet or something. It was decent. You know, it was a decent win for us. It was all of this being there, the end of the night, you know, the crescendo of the night. I think Aspinall even just beating Volkov as well in that way, I think was just, it was, mate, honestly, I could talk about that moment for a long time, you know, cuddling and, you know, kissing people like next to you that you've never spoke to and speak to them all night, and then you're jumping up and down. It's just the whole, it was like 10 minutes of absolute utter insanity, and it'll be a memory I've got forever. Never mind just my moment of the year. Like that's something I will always remember. I can't get past it. I had other ones. I had like Hughes winning the belt. I think Hughes actually winning that belt finally off Vucenic was a real moment, and like the way he was with Jordan after it was something. And then
didn't hear that one.
No, listen, I'm a massive Vucenic fan, and I was devastated. But I think how Paul was after it, and how much humility he showed and respect and all that. I think it was a real moment, mate, to be able to watch that live. I think personally, like it was almost like it was like a tipping point for Paul Hughes. It's like it's hard to explain, but another one I had was Leon winning the belt because it was so significant. So as you said it earlier on, Lewis, talking about him being the greatest of all time, stepping up 2 weight divisions to win 2 belts and becoming the first triple weight champion, and all this stuff about being unbeatable, and he's pound for pound the best ever. And then Leon kicks him right in the fucking head and knocks him out. It was literally like, I think I was sitting watching it on the telly for like 10 minutes, going, "What?" I had to watch it back. It was insane, but no. Yeah. But Aspinall beating Volkov for me, mate, it'll live with me forever, ever.
Mm-hmm. Go on, Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, It's one of the 3 round 5s for me. Those are my 3 nominees: Leon, Perea, and Yuri. The round 5s from each of them. But it's got to be Leon's. Honestly, the build up to it is like a movie with him. Like in all seriousness, essentially being bullied, like in a way by Jorge Masvidal, and then Jorge Masvidal taking and running that to a title shot off a lucky knee. But how it affected Leon, then the eye poke, like then COVID. Like one of the best fighters in the world, if he could get an opportunity. He had a chance at Chimaev. Then that got, it's just like bad luck, bad luck, bad luck. He's just in a fight with Usman that's just like, oh, another 5-round kind of Usman performance here. And you just hear in the corner work, which I don't know the coach who was doing the main motivation, but that guy makes me want to run through a wall. I've watched that fight so many times too, not for the fight itself, but just those moments in between the rounds. And then afterwards, when you see the belt get put around Leon's waist, that's my moment of the year, man, because he cannot believe it was happening. And you can see it all setting in. He's yelling not to rub it in Usman's face at all, but because he's just so happy, thanking his mother. I'm a mama's boy, man. Like yelling, mama, we made, like, it's making me tear up talking about it. Anytime I watch it, I tear up. I have no problem admitting that. I had no feelings about Leon Edwards before the fight, really. I thought he was a good fighter, but like never a fighter that would move me to emotion. Just to be like, Mom, we made it. Mom, I told you. Like, and just like to go back and be like, the cornerman's like, what are you doing, Leon? You're letting it get away. Like, you don't even have to add the
music. Feeling sorry for yourself.
Yeah, you don't even have to add the music to it. But once you add like that, like that Instagram dun, like that, like guitar music that's been added to it, it's like if you watch that and don't get moved to tears, you don't like MMA and you don't have a pulse. Like, and you should find another sport, like for real, because I mean, and it's just like you hear him say, "Kill shot, you're dead. Headshot, bang."
Bang.
Like there's no 2 rounds of 3, no split decision, no. Oh, it could have kept going. No, headshot, bang, you're dead. This is my belt. I have earned this. Screaming at the camera afterwards, like none of that was fake. None of that was fake.
Yeah,
and it doesn't matter that he lost before then.
It's pure emotion, as you say. It's funny, like you say about the whole build up to it as well. I don't know if you would have seen it, Aaron, obviously being based in the US, but the BT Sport promo on that fight, the Leon Edwards stuff by BT Sport was probably some of BT Sport's best work with the UFC, like UFC related work. It was absolutely insane. Like it was, they proper
people just weren't giving him a chance.
No,
people were not giving him a chance.
They made it seem. I don't know if it was probably more geared to casuals, like because I think I mean, to be honest, if you guys were honest and say before that fight, did you honestly think Leon would win? You would probably say no because he's maybe not on that level. But I think over here they tried to make it seem like Leon was a big deal to people who maybe aren't into the sport as much.
Oh yeah, he was like just the next guy to fight Usman over here.
Exactly.
Like he was like, remember, he almost lost to Bilal till the eye. Like that was the kind of shit that was being said about him over here.
And that's what BT Sport did. I think BT Sport basically tried to do their best to paint him as a legitimate candidate. And I mean, it worked.
I mean, his brother was in his corner with him. Like, it's just like, how can you be? His brother's lifting him up afterwards. Like, I have a brother. I imagine that moment with my brother where, like, it's like, and it's like you could see he believed he could win, but he didn't believe he could win. Like
it was very similar to how McGregor beat Mendes, got that belt after he has the cut on his eye, and he shouts, "Ireland, we did it!" Basically, it's that sort of moment, but for Leon. Yeah. I'm with you 100%.
Yeah,
I think that is the universal best moment, right?
Yeah, it's like not sometimes you gotta be obvious. No, this is not a British award at all. Like, I mean, I watched it the other day. Like, I've watched it so many times now, just the last 2 rounds of the fight, particularly if I'm being honest. And it's just like, there's a reason it's not fight of the year. It's moment of the year. It is. It just is.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like as you said at the start, Lewis, with this moment, this is quite a precious moment of the year because the one for me is emotional because I was there and I will remember it forever. Aaron said it brought him to tears watching Leon win that. It's an emotional thing, but I think collectively, if you take off, even if you take away the emotion, moment of the year probably was Leon Edwards beating Usman. I think, to be honest with you,
Crazy.
it's a very personal thing. But yeah, I wouldn't.
like-
I don't have any issues with it.
GSP never got shut off with one, like, you know.
Yeah,
It's,
I mean,
they're calling this guy the best ever, and he just
Yeah.
won.
Listen,
one
you can't take it away from him completely that he got kicked in the head. Listen, if you take a kick to the head, you can't defend everything. You can't. I mean, you can't. Somebody's. You're
It
always
wasn't even
going
the
to
kick. It was the feint, the throw,
It was the
the
feint,
slip,
yeah, it was-
and then the kick. It was
It's
he
the best.
he got hit with 4 things in my head, not just one. You know,
It's the best. It's probably the best. Sorry, no, not the best feint, because you see some feints that are ridiculous, but the most successful feint I've ever seen watching fighting, because it was on a plate for what he wanted to do, and it got set up. It literally was the perfect feint. It was the moment, as you say, the belt, mum, we did it. Even the bang, you know, you're dead, and all that. It was proper Birmingham Leon Edwards. It was all. It was
like
him.
never was he trying to rub it in Usman's face either. Shakes his hand immediately. Never is screaming in Usman's face. Totally respectful.
Fake. It wasn't fake. It was Leon.
Exactly.
It was Leon, the guy. Like, I mean, comparing it, it's like talking about fakeness. Look at Paddy, right, and all that bullshit, right? Like,
like
Leon,
fight of the night, right? Like, it's like you didn't believe that.
Whereas Leon was Leon. That was it. There was nobody else in the world. When he was on that microphone, it was just about him. It was Leon being Leon, and I think that's what made it such an amazing moment, to be fair.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. That's excellent. Which he will be nominated in the next category, I'm sure. But I think it's going to surprise a few people with my pick for this one. But the nominations for the second to last, but this is the main bad boy. This is the Oscar. This is the thing. The fighter of the year.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I would like to give each of us one pick. And if we all have the same at the start, I think it's unanimous. But we can discuss others if you're close.
I like it.
But for me, I want to give a shout out to George Hardwick, who was close to being my fighter of the year. But I can't because it wasn't at the highest level. And that's the only reason I'm doing it. But he won 3 fights in 2022, won a belt off Carl Driscoll, who is an unbelievable AKA guy. Unbelievable. And then defended the belt with 2 back-to-back liver shots. He's unfucking real, and he'll be mentioned again, I'm sure, in this one. But my fighter of the year, based on he's been in the UFC 1 fucking year, is Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira, for me, has to be. I know Leon Edwards, like, people think I'd either pick him or maybe Volk again, someone like that. But for me,
Mark off with Volk, man.
Mark off with Volk, okay.
Islam
Islam Makhachev could be up there for what he did to Charles, which called it, by the way. Everyone that rubbed it in my video, word for word, I'm spot on throughout all that for 6 minutes. So eat that.
Okay.
But Pereira, for me, is the fucking man. He's the scariest, most talked about, especially since beating him. Mate, Alex Pereira for me is he's the guy, and I'm gonna go. I'll probably go on an Aaron rant later if you guys disagree with Alex Pereira. He wants to disagree. He's gonna disagree.
All right,
on you go, Aaron, because I was just going to say yes, I agree. So on you
go. I mean, I love Alex Pereira. But
it's been in 1 year. We're
gonna right. Well, boy, he been given a golden road to the title, didn't he? Sean Strickland with his arms at his waist. Here we go. Sean Strickland coming in with. We're gonna make fun of Stu Dumas for submitting a kickboxer. Let's make fun of Pereira for fucking knocking out a walking corpse. Like that was just like so. Like I'm sorry, but he didn't earn his title shot. Like, and so for that, no, I'm gonna go away of the Wolfhead man, the real prospect at 170. It is Shavkat Rakhmonov's year here. He only fought twice. What he did to those 2 guys was absurd. What he's about to do to Jeff Neal next in 2 weeks, in a month, is going to be ridiculous. He will beat Khamzat Chimaev when Khamzat is champion, probably in 2024, because they're not going to give him the Pereira treatment of just laying down rose petals to get him a title shot, because he doesn't talk trash and he, just Shavkat is my fighter of the year, man. He does everything perfect. I bet against him at the beginning of the year, and he is my fighter of the year. I'm sorry, this guy is the real deal. He's.
I see. I'm agreeing with Kelly. I think you're a year too early.
No, I just gotta go with what he's done. No one wanted to fight him at the end of the year. He's been wanting to get.
Who did he beat, by the way?
He beat Carlston Harris and
Okay, so
Neil
let's stop
Magny.
there. We'll just stop there at Carlston Harris. Okay.
So he beat Carlston Harris as
You're
quickly as
moaning at
possible.
Pereira beating Sean Strickland.
Yeah, Sean Strickland.
45 Jack Hermanson. And
yeah. I
he's
mean,
fighting
but
Jared
that
Cannonier.
wasn't
He's
the
top of the food chain.
That wasn't the same Sean Strickland in that fight. That
Because
was
of Pereira.
No, that was because of Sean
You
Strickland.
got it. He knocked out Israel Adesanya.
How many takedowns did Sean Strickland attempt in that fight?
He's not his style, man.
How much MMA did he attempt in that fight?
All of them because he wore the gloves.
He stood with his hands down against a kickboxer. And
he fought how he fights. He won't change.
Here, I get that Chopcut's not going to win, but he is my nominee for Fighter of the Year because I'm just giving him that Jeff Neal win. Sorry that it happened in 2023. Jeff Neal, if he would have fought him in December 17th, he would have lost December 17th too. He's going to beat Jeff Neal, so I'm giving him 3 wins on 2023. And I'm changing the rules and the goalpost. Shavkat Rakhmonov is the Hasmat.
Who was your second pick? Who was your second pick?
I mean, like Pereira is up there for close to the number one. I've got to be honest, like what he did, but I am taking away
Bruno
from
Silva, Sean Strickland, and Israel Adesanya. He dethroned the king in MMA. He chased him in his own sport. He was losing the fight, and I don't know. I like the stoppage personally. I think the stoppage was fine.
It was fine, but
extra couple shots is probably not needed. But it was a title fight, so maybe let him go to the floor. Maybe let him drop.
Yeah, I just it's just like for me, I get it. He only fought twice. He's only fought 4 times in the UFC so far, but it's like every single time he goes out there, he finishes the guy in a spectacularly composed way.
Took Larry. Yeah.
It's just like if he fought 3 times this year, he would have won 3 times. However many times he fights next year, he's going to win, in my opinion. I need to see Hasmat versus him. It's going to be years before we see it.
Go on then, Scott. Who is yours other than Pereira then?
So I had Pereira. It was just an incredible year. Yeah, was he fast tracked? Yeah, maybe. I think I think it was always the plan. It's not.
And I do have a couple other ones too, but I'll get to them in a second.
Okay, yeah.
I don't think he was fast tracked, but he's got a fighting background, so it's not as if he's come into the sport totally unaware. They definitely always had the plan of him fighting Izzy. But yeah, it's hard to see past Pereira. I had Makachev, and my number 3 was probably going to surprise you a wee bit. My number 3 was Christian Lee.
I like that.
Because he won. Yeah. He won his belt back that he lost at the end of last year, and then he became a 2-weight champ. And I just think if no matter what organization you do that in, unless it's like regional level, I think becoming a 2-weight champ is
no easy feat. Yeah,
and especially in that organization where the weight cutting rules are very strict, and you've got to be very careful about your.
Their weight cutting rules are a joke.
Yeah. I don't believe their weight cutting rules for a second.
No, if I spoke to Pierre Miller about that, he said it's just nonsense. Yeah,
neither do I. But they have the rules, and you have to stick them in. As far as I know, they are difficult to. I think they're quite difficult to adhere to. I don't really know how they work, but I just think any 2-division champ is worth a mention. And yeah, I mean, he's never going to win Fight of the Year. I think there's too many eyes on UFC and other things for that. And I think Pereira had too good a year, but I just wanted to give Christian Lee a bit of spotlight.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's also a class fighter. Like, he's actually really, really, really good to watch. But Pereira, Makachev, Pereira for me, it was a no-brainer, really.
Yeah. I got 2 more.
Go for it.
So my first, purely based on competition, he's not going to get it, but Jack Della. Dude is just knocking out everybody. 3 knockouts, 3 clean knockouts this year, and what he did to your boy Danny Roberts. Rest in peace.
Oh mate, I'm heavy on. I'm heavy on Della.
Yeah. Jack Della starting out with
hang on, heavy on Jack.
Yeah, Jack Della starting out with 2 losses and working his way through it, and then I put this fighter ahead of Alex Pereira, well ahead of Alex Pereira. Weili Zhang, she has one of the submissions of the year and one of the KOs of the year over 2 of the best fighters in her division's history.
Mm-hmm.
Jan Jacek and Carlos Esparza put them away and put them away spectacularly. I mean, she's so likable. She's so fun to watch. She's a respectful martial artist, and she earned her title shot. After the tough losses, she earned that title shot against Joanna. I get Joanna wasn't much of a fighter coming back, but I mean,
she was game. She said she had no excuses. She had the best camp of her career.
That's
She
what
was
I'm
driven.
saying.
She wanted to
And
win. She wanted to come back.
Zhang kill shotted her, and then
Yeah,
that
easy,
dirt,
yeah.
then that dirty submission of Carla. Carla doesn't get submitted.
Nah.
Like Carla's been in grappling competitions a ton. She's been really working on that. Honestly, Zhang might be my pick over all of them. Zhang would be my nominee, actually, even over Shavkat. I'll get Shavkat next year. So
Yeah, I think you're a bit early on him.
yeah,
personally.
Zhang would be my selection, actually. Wiley Zhang.
Okay, I
Fighter of
think
the
that's
year.
really good. I think this is one where I'm not going to pick an overall winner.
Those could be the two fighters of the year. They are.
I think
Male and
those
female.
need a mention. I think Edwards needs a mention for kill shotting, but again, it's one fight.
Yeah.
Like, Volkanovski, Scott, he does need a mention for taking out Holloway again. Like, it's just, that's a disgusting thing to keep doing.
Yeah.
Holloway's just the fuck. He's
really
otherwise is the fucking
He
best.
has his chance against Islam to really like cement his status here.
Oh yeah.
If he can do that, the amount of people who are going to come around on him is going to be ridiculous. I know they already should be, but like there's a bunch of people who still don't understand Volkanovski.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about the fight.
He's insanely good. I just don't like him. It's just a personal thing. I just don't like him. I don't know what it is, man. It's one of these things you don't get a good vibe from fighters. He's insanely talented. Don't get me wrong, right? I'm not stupid. I'm not naive to it, but I just find him so fucking boring, man.
Yeah, a lot of people do. I've been to 2 or 3 Volkanovski fights now, and each one of them, multiple like sections of the crowd left during the fight, including during the Ortega fight. People were leaving in between the 3rd and 4th round.
That's also probably another reason why I hate him, because Ortega's my guy. Ortega's the guy that kind of like
got you into MMA.
I suppose. Yeah, well, no, and I mean the guy who got me into MMA was Gus, right? Like I love Gus. But when I started watching it properly, like actually making sure I was watching it every week long before the podcast, the first guy I remember seeing a vivid moment was when he was guillotine choking everybody, like fucking. Everybody, it felt like he had like 8 fights in a row where he guillotined people. I think it was like 2 and 4 fights or something, but I felt like every time I seen Brian Ortega, he was guillotining people, and I was like, nah, he's my guy, man. He always has been. So I think the fact that Volk got so fucking lucky and then smashed him up, that made me even hate him even more. I was like, nah, man.
Yeah, man, for sure.
That was a great moment.
It was another good moment. That was last year though. I think we actually said about that. I think that might have been my fight of the year last year. Ortega.
Yeah, Volk. It was definitely up there.
This is this is the one I like to hear, because Aaron is so on it with prospects, and he's excellent for it. But prospects for 2023. Who was do you remember who yours was for last year?
Oh my god, I wish I would have went back.
So I might have to go back and I wish I had a look as well and see how well they actually did. That would have been a nice little moment.
I don't even know. I'll have to go back and check. But yeah, I love the prospects. There's a ton of them right now.
In or out of the UFC as well. You can have people that have just entered the UFC, but mine are kind of out of the UFC.
Yeah, I picked out of the UFC as well. Within the UFC, it's Michael Morales. He is the prospect for me moving into 2023. The dude is just so good everywhere. He's still so young. Another Ecuadorian. Ecuador MMA.
You need an Ecuador flag on your wall.
Yeah, I really do, because I am like the biggest supporter of Ecuadorian MMA I know. And so those would be in the UFC, but that would be in the UFC. Not going to pick it. I got to represent the LFA, right? The LFA hasn't been represented tonight. I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to pick the Bonfim brothers, which people probably don't know about these guys yet, but these guys are the new Diaz's of. We got Ismail and Gabriel Bonfim. But these guys, not enough people know about yet, but they're just incredibly well-rounded fighters, both with a ton of experience. Ismail, a former boxer, pro boxer, went MMA, 18-3 coming into the UFC. This is the type of guy who's going to come in and be ready right away, taking on Terrence McKinney right away. So we're going to find out next month. Is Bonfim the real deal or not? I'm about to tell you all he is. And that is a dog you can cash on next year, because Terrence McKinney is going to be a huge favorite in this fight. This guy is a world-class boxer, world-class with his jiu-jitsu as well. Never has been knocked out. He's faced Hanato Moicano in his career, lost to him, but still got that fight with Moicano in his career. He's faced a couple of other good fighters, had 3 fights with LFA in 2022, looked really good as well. Ismail, and then probably the better of the Bonfim brothers is Gabriel. He's a little bit taller, more well-rounded, but both these guys are just absolute beasts. He's 13-0. Gabriel Bonfim is. Again, these guys are just two of the best out of Brazil, 2 of the best from LFA. He's at 170. His brother's at 145. So no worries about there. He's again a guy who was known for his stand-up, but has developed his submissions to an ability where he's getting Von Flue chokes on guys. He's getting rear naked chokes. He's going for the submissions. He's to bring it into your guys' realm. He's like the Shelley brothers. They're like the Shelley brothers, but they're way better. Like they're actually good. They're not just these promised, overhyped Taekwondo guys.
Do you know what? I would actually compare him to my picks.
Yeah. And then so those are my 2 guys. My girl pick is actually from the PFL 125 division from your side of the pond, Dakota DeCheva.
Yeah.
Baby.
Yeah.
This girl looks like the nicest girl, looks like a Barbie, but fucking hits like a truck. It is like crazy the shit she's doing, man. And she's so confident. She's so good. If the PFL's smart, they'll build an entire division around her and be perfectly fine. I don't know how the UFC let this girl get away from them. I don't know how, but she is so damn good. She's probably the best 125er outside the UFC and maybe one of the best inside the UFC.
Yeah, I was about to say definitely as well. Beating
she's so good.
A lot of people
dude.
in it.
No one knows who she is.
Yeah.
Like not enough people at least for how good she is. But she's my female prospect. If I had to pick the Bonfim brother, since it's cheating to pick both, I would pick Ismail. He is younger. He does have more potential, but Gabriel's the more polished product, and we're about to cash Gabriel as a dog against Terrence McKinney next month. So let's go.
What about you, Scott?
So we talk about bias, man. 2 of mine are Scottish. 2 of mine are Scottish.
I know who one of them is then.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
He smashed your boy Kingsley Crawford. My third one was George Hardwick. Now, that's probably really obvious, right? But George is insanely talented and literally is, I reckon he's already signed. I would be shocked if he hasn't already signed with the UFC.
Yeah, he should have been.
Maybe it's one of these ones where the deal's being done or has been done and they're just waiting to announce. I would be shocked if he's not signed early next year. If he doesn't fight on UFC London, then people should just boycott UFC completely because it's insane. The boy's so talented, and the only reason he isn't my number 1 prospect is because there's 2 Scottish boys in front of him. My second pick is a guy called Mark Ewan. Now, Mark's 4-0. He fought in Aries last week, the weekend before.
Sensational.
Yeah, man. Absolutely legit. Now, I followed Mark on Instagram for a few years, did that thing where I went through a list of Scottish fighters and just went, right, follow. A lot of them don't do much now. Some of them have moved into other things. I think there's a boy I follow that now is just an absolute gym nut, and he's just huge. Doesn't do the MMA anymore. But Mark's slowly just been chipping away, and watching him on Aries, which is probably the biggest. Well, he's fought in the EFC, but I would say Aries is a pretty big deal. And I think that kind of finish, that'll make people start talking. That's the kind of thing, if you go out first round and you smash somebody up like that, I think that's going to have a lot of eyes on you. So I'm excited to see what Mark does. But my top prospect for next year is Reese McEwen.
Reese is good.
Yeah, it wasn't like I've seen Reese, like I've kind of, again, one of the things I followed him on Instagram for years, even when he was fighting like amateur level on top, which is a local one even to me. And I always wasn't sure, you never really are sure about prospects if they can make the jump. But he's shown he really can. Kingsley Crawford, the fight for Kingsley Crawford, I think, is the one that really sealed it for me because Kingsley is insanely talented. Like, I was actually kind of worried when I seen that matchup. I thought, well, Kingsley might do him here. In fact, I think I've got a message from a certain Lewis Norton that said, your boy's going to get smashed off Kingsley. So I think there was a lot of people who probably thought
that would be egg on my face there. Wasn't it?
Yeah, man. But listen, I think Reese has got the tools. He's a very good grappler. He trains at he trains at Grip House in Glasgow, which is notoriously known for being a very good grappling school. It's maybe not known for being an insanely good all-round MMA school, but in terms of grappling, I think it really is. But yeah, no, Reece McEwen for me is my top prospect for next year. Hopefully he might even fight in London, but I don't think he will. I don't think he's enough of a name yet, to be honest. But we'll see.
I think he'll be fighting for a belt in Cage Warriors at the start of the year. That's what I really think.
Well, I was talking to him after he won last time out, and I was just saying, "Congrats, mate. I hope everything's well." He says, "Yeah, I'm doing great." I says, "What's your plans? You fighting again?" I thought he might have snuck on the New Year card because it was about 6-7 weeks. He said, "Nah, a break and then next year." And I said, "Well, go and do us a favour and go and take that Loughran's head off because he fought Cullen Loughran at amateur level and beat him." And there's something about Loughran I don't really like. I don't know what it is. Again, sometimes fighters just give you bad vibes. So I was like, well, get that fight made and go and take his head off again and derail that hype train because I'm not one for massive hype trains. So we'll see. We'll see. I think a belt is in his future. I think he's probably a fight away from it. Maybe one more fight. Maybe him versus Loughran to see who fights for the belt. Maybe I don't know. Maybe Loughran might be ahead of him a step. I'm not sure, but I'm excited for Reece. I'm excited to see what happens next year.
Yeah, I mean, mine's been mentioned, and I've gone for. You compare it with brothers as well. It's the Hardwicks.
Yeah,
I mean, George is.
I did look up my prospect of last year.
Gone.
I had 2 prospects of last year, both with Bellator. JJ Wilson and Danny Sabatello.
Oh, Danny.
Danny Sabatello. Yeah.
Almost correct. Almost right.
Perfect. Oh, man, no, you were right. No, he wasn't. Fucking excellent this year. I don't care if he lost to Rafian Stotts. Rafian Stotts is a monster.
He barely lost that fight.
That was
barely lost that fight.
Semi-finals of the Grand Prix, mate. You know, that's pretty to call. That's pretty good. You know, that's like
I'm very proud of that Danny Sabatello spot, man. I called that last year. So that's why I muted myself for a second. I pulled up the awards from last year to really quickly be like, oh, who did I say?
Who did I say? Okay.
I didn't get all the way.
Didn't even check mine. I think mine might have been Vucenic.
I was talking for so long I couldn't get to anybody else because I was like, all my picks were from Bellator though. I don't know how JJ Wilson did this year. He did okay.
No, but mine's Harry Hardwick. You know, won the
Harry
belt.
Hardwick.
Yeah, it's going to be Harry because George is too obvious.
Okay.
So I think Harry at the end of the year will sneak into the UFC if he continues on the run he's on. I mean, George is, as you say, he's going to be signed. George is the official pick, but I think to make it fun, I would actually also put Harry in that list. Same as you with your brothers. I'm going with the brothers as well. So that way, nice and easy. I mean, there's not many I would put outside that, and I had Reece McEwen written down.
Reece McEwen's a good one.
I think that he's got a style that can really fuck a lot of English fighters up, which is mainly and European guys, which is what Cage Warriors is all about. I think he can easily win a belt in Cage Warriors level, regional level. Going to the UFC, he's a problem, but I think much like Vucenic, he's going to lack in one department and get exposed. Now, Vucenic fought Hughes, let's just put it this way: Vucenic and Hughes should both be in the UFC. But Hughes is a step ahead of Vucenic, and that's what it showed. Like, he's a top 15 guy kind of level, and then Vucenic is a non-ranked kind of level. So, and that hurts to say. But I think Reece is a really good shout from a Cage Warriors perspective. I don't really have any LFA picks, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, so many of them are just immediately moving up to the UFC.
LFA gets pushed so much quicker because of where they're located.
Yeah, it's a pipeline.
Exactly.
It is definitely a pipeline. I mean, I just think the Bonfim brothers are the import from the LFA that you would circle, though. And I think it's interesting how little it's being promoted so far. I'll be interested to see the odds on the McKinney-Gabriel Bonfim fight. Because, I mean, for me, I think outside the first few minutes, Gabriel Bonfim absolutely tools him up on the feet, just dances around him. He's so much quicker, good footwork. And that's the lesser of the Bonfim brothers. They're like, that's the thing. I think Harry Hardwick is significantly behind George Hardwick. And for me, I'm not sold on Harry Hardwick as much. I think he's almost, dare I say it, overachieved. But what can you do?
I think he's at the level he should be at, and he's improving.
Yeah, I just think he should not rush the UFC at all. Like, I think he has some trouble there. Like, George is going to be fine. But we saw Figlak, the UFC is not Cage Warriors.
No, he's not. I mean, hitting Chris Bungard and Kyle Driscoll both with liver shots is unbelievable. Beating Capera as well with his knees in the second round. I mean, his only loss is to Fleminas, to Madders.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was when I think that was his 4th pro fight. Take on Madders Fleminas in your 4th fucking pro fight is that's stupid. But he did it. He lost. He lost by decision. And give a shout out as well to Joe Cotton on Instagram and YouTube. Joe Cotton MMA, who's trains up in Middlesbrough with him. I talked to him on a semi-regular basis about, because he does all the camera work for him, almost like the Raptors for Dan Hardy and for Reptile. So he gets a lot of inside scoop on George and Harry and a few others. And George is just, if he's not on that London card, I would be on the prelims, I'd be shocked. And I think I was thinking last year maybe Makayev would have been in that prospect talk as well, which he's done great. Little lackluster in the last fight, but still ticked the box, did the job. And a lot of fighters get these sort of bumps in the road where they win, but a bit dirty. And if you want an inside if people still aren't aware of Makayev, then I would put him up there. But I'm not sure we can pick UFC guys.
Well, I think you can pick UFC guys, but I think if they've maybe, like, for example, Rosas Jr. right now, and what your opinion is on them signing a 17-year-old is, fine. But the boy's got talent. He's very young. I mean, I wrote something on my phone notes and basically saying he should take like 4 years to even get anywhere near it, man. Just fight a lot, not too much, but you can mention Makayev. The only reason I would say maybe not mention Makayev is because he's fought 3 times in the UFC is maybe the only reason I would say no. But mentioning
this
guys
year as well.
I mean, mentioning guys like Morales, like Aaron did, I mean, insanely talented. But again, even Rosas Jr., these are guys you can mention, absolutely. I mean, I don't have any issue with. I think a prospect's a prospect, no matter.
The only issue with Rosas Jr. for me is he's just turned 18, beat up Jay Perrin, who shouldn't be in the UFC as well. But we both, Aaron and I both thought Jay Perrin was going to do him. We thought it would be too much for him, like a grown man essentially fighting a boy. What it showed is the guy's real slick on his fit. Like, he's got incredibly good grappling, Rosas Jr. But he's 18 years old. He's going to get Chase Hoopered at one point or another. Absolutely. He's going to be too young, and you're going to be beating up essentially an underdeveloped child. And that's what I fear. I think at 19 years old, if he fights someone just a bit more technical than him that can stuff a takedown, he's going to get hurt, and he's going to get hurt bad. And maybe it's me not wanting to see someone with a teen attached to their number, like their age. But I think I think you should be of an age to get in. He's really driven to get that belt at that age. No one's going to beat Jones's record. Like, it's just not going to. 20, was it 23? No one thinks so. No, I still like that can hit 23. It's not going to happen, So
I think it is young. Like, as I say, Chase Hooper. I would love to say I hope the UFC have learned a lesson with what happened with Chase. Can't see it. Dana White doesn't learn lessons, but I think the only thing I would say is different between Rosas Jr. and Hooper is the way they talk, the way they come across. Like, Rosas, as you say,
that's a bit rude, isn't it?
Fuck off. That's not what I meant. There you go. Fuck off. He talks a good game, like he believes it. Whereas I don't think I've ever heard Chase Hooper talk, really, to be honest. It's always a bit kind of like mamby-pamby.
Yeah, he's really PG, isn't he?
Yeah, like, I mean, I think Rosas has got something about him. Listen, we'll see, as you say, technical fighters. If he fights somebody who is very slick with their hands and can defend a takedown, he might get pieced up. I suppose it's a bit similar to what would happen to Paddy. If Paddy fought somebody like Surukian or Gamrot, they would absolutely destroy him. Right, absolutely destroy him. So it's a similar thing with Rosas Jr. Until we see him fight somebody like that, you wouldn't know. But I definitely think you can't not call him a prospect. I mean, fighting in the world's biggest organization at 18, it's like, I don't know if you guys follow football as much as what I do, but Real Madrid have just signed a 16-year-old boy from Brazil for $72 million. He's 16 years old, and he actually can't move to him until he's 18 because of the laws in the game. So he's going to basically play for his team for 2 years, basically can take 2 years off because he knows he's going to play for Real Madrid. That's obscene. So I think 18-year-old and being at the top level is fine if you can handle it, and it sounds like he can. How
many can handle it is the point.
It looks like it looks like he can so far.
Yeah,
like he didn't even shake. He didn't even shake once.
No.
Like it doesn't make sense. How
it looked like a guy who'd been fighting in the UFC for 5-6 years. He looked comfortable.
He looked like but it was against Jay Perrin, so that's where we have to like.
He should have. He looked like how Jay Perrin should have looked, because although Jay Perrin isn't, great, he's probably a bit more of a seasoned pro than Rosas Jr. So that's my point. Like, if he looks it, he talks well, he fights well. I think it's just I think it's a different animal from Chase Hooper. Whether he can make it, nah, he's too young, too early to tell, but he's 100% a prospect, absolutely. Like, there's no doubt. I don't think Dana doesn't often get it wrong with signing guys that young. I mean, Chase is talented. Don't get me wrong. Chase is just... I think
shouldn't be in the UFC in my head still, though.
Yeah.
I think the only reason people say now that Chase should, he's non-ranked, that's his level, and it's like, I don't even think they should be non-ranked, because the amount of shows they're putting out is the only reason they're signing so many guys. Is they have to just make it so it waters down the UFC. So half of the UFC is elite, half of the UFC is like the fucking arse end of Bellator now, and most Cage Warriors guys, most LFA guys would beat the shit out of half of the UFC right now. They really would. A lot of guys in Aries, they're scary. Imagine what Christian Leroy Duncan would do to some of these guys at middleweight. And Will Curry, he would beat so many UFC caliber guys. But it's all about how they paired up. So, he's definitely a prospect, but I'd be careful with him.
Yeah, I think, as I say, I think a lot of it's up here. Like with Chase, it's definitely here. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever heard my opinion on. You remember Luis Pena, Violent Bob Ross? Now, Luis Pena, right? Technically, for me, right, from somebody who hasn't ever trained anything, technically is very, 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 very good. He just can't work it. He has flashes of brilliance with his hands and his feet. Good grappler, good defense. But for some reason up here, he's an absolute.
He's Tom Breese. That's what he is. He's got Tom Breese disease. In the gym, he's the killer. Under the lights, he freezes. Yeah,
I know Luis. So there's a lot more wrong there than.
Yeah, but I think technically he's very, very good.
Everywhere.
One of the most frustrating fighters I've ever seen, because he looks like he's got a good game. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with Rosas. It'll be interesting to see what happens this time next year if we're talking about him winning 3 fights in a row, and they're talking about him fighting a ranked guy. I think he needs to take slow though. So if he's ranked this time next year, it's too fast.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Cool. Well, that sums up all the categories. I think that was a good show, guys. Thank you everyone for who was actually in the chat as well. We got Aaron's regulars joining as well.
My Arkin Dome.
Yeah, bring them over. But no, that was good, guys. Really
Cheers for hosting, Lewis. Very much appreciate it.
Yeah, that's all right.
Appreciate the invite.
Yeah,
that's all right. So we'll end the broadcast there. But any notes, guys, make sure you hit them in the comments, because the live chat will be disabled.
Yep.
Cool. We'll see you in next year when Jay Perrin is no longer in the UFC. Razas Jr. is fighting ranked guys.
he's a champion.
And George Hardwick's winning the belt. So yeah.
There you go. Sorted.
Perfect.
Watch out for Danny Sabatello. He's got hands.